Hello, my fellow pilgrims, and welcome to my channel. It's been a while. I was taking a break in my videos, and today I just had an idea of doing this special episode and talk about all of the Caminos that I have done, about my experience, what motivated me to do them, the lessons that I learned, and just to go over these Caminos and just show you how each Camino is special in its own way. So let's get to it. So my experience with the Caminos started in 2022. That was my first solo trip after years of being in a relationship, being married, having kids. So in 2022, I was single. I went through a divorce a few years before, and then I had a long-term relationship. We were engaged, which did not work out, and we separated. I was single. My kids were old enough to be left with their dad for a month. So I decided to book this trip. I had been dreaming about doing Camino de Santiago for 5 years prior to that. And my inspiration for that was not the movie The Way, was not somebody telling me about it. I read a book, The Unlikely Pilgrimage of Harold Fry. And it's not about the Camino, but the character, he had a goal. He was walking, I think, to see his old friend who was dying. And basically, while he was walking, he was either calling her or sending her messages. And this way, he was motivating her to stay alive. The character was telling about like his experience with walking and how it changed him and how every day was different. And I was just like captivated by the story, and I was like, that's amazing, like that's an amazing transformation. How can I get it? And I just started researching, where can I walk? Like, is there anything like that? Is there a trail? Like, where can I do that? And I found Camino de Santiago, and I was like, wow, that's amazing. But when I discovered it, my kids were still babies, so I wouldn't be able to leave them. And I was dreaming about it and dreaming about it and dreaming about it. Not researching much. I just had this thought in my head that one day I will do it. And I guess 2022 was a perfect time to do that. First, I started researching, okay, what Camino do I do? Basically, the most popular Camino is Camino Frances. But then I also discovered Camino del Norte. What I read about it is that it was amazing for its views. It was more, I guess, peaceful. And not knowing much, I just decided to do Camino del Norte. I booked the tickets. I had not prepared, like I did not know much at all. I basically went to Decathlon. I was lucky enough to get a consultant who used to walk a lot. Like, he was in the French military, I think, and he's like, I know everything. Like, he just advised me on absolutely everything. And this is how I got ready for my first Camino. The only thing that I bought separately were the shoes. And unfortunately, with the shoes, it was a different story. I didn't know that you should buy at least a size bigger of the shoes. I did not know that. So I just bought regular size, which was a huge mistake. And who watched my videos, they would know. And that was basically, that was all for my preparation. The purpose of that Camino was to listen to myself, be selfish. My whole life was evolving around my kids, around my family, and I really lost myself. At some point, I was just asking myself, who am I? What do I like? What do I want? And then there was a divorce, and then there was another failed relationship. And in that relationship, I was struggling with self-love. I had such a crazy people-pleasing syndrome, like such a bad good girl syndrome. I had absolutely no self-love. I had absolutely no self-respect. So that Camino for me was really to reconnect with myself, to listen to my body. That's why I didn't want to plan much. I just wanted to walk without any plan, to walk until I feel tired, and then I would stop. So I flew into Bilbao, and then I took a bus in the morning from Bilbao to Santander. I arrived in Santander and I started walking straight away. It was 2 p.m. I did not know where I would sleep that night. I'm out of town of Santander. The city is behind me. And shortly after, I realized that maybe I should be planning a bit, because when you come out of Santander, there was an albergue, it was fully booked. I think at like 4 p.m. I was like, okay, I probably need to start thinking, where am I gonna sleep that night? So I called the albergue, they were fully booked. I'm like, great. The stage after, so like the albergue after, was too far, so I had to book a hotel. The first day is over, I have arrived. I could not wait to stay at an albergue, just to have that experience, although I was terrified to, like go to a hostel. I had never stayed at a hostel before. Like for me, that was a first time thing, to sleep in the room with strangers. But at the same time, I was so excited to have this like full on pilgrim experience. I guess I realized at the beginning that Camino del Norte is not great for, like going with the flow. Like I should probably research sometimes, at least to know whether there's gonna be some albergues on the way. So I walked 10 days on Camino del Norte, and there were days when I would plan, there were days when I wouldn't. It was a mix. On that Camino, I was really looking to be alone. I met a few people and we kind of like started walking together, but then when it became a bit, one person is hungry, another person doesn't want to go here, another one doesn't want to go there. So when they started in the group, I was like, okay, that's a bit too much. This is not why I came on the Camino. I really want to do what I want to do. And so I kind of like stepped out of the group and went on my own, and I was happy about it. And then somewhere along the way, I started hearing about Camino Primitivo and the possibility of switching from Camino del Norte to Camino Primitivo, which I decided to do. I have decided to switch for the mountain route, for the Primitivo. So this is where I start. So I have 320 kilometers ahead through the mountains, and I'm very excited about it. And I remember on day one of the Camino Primitivo, like I like to walk off stages to avoid those crowds. So on day one, I stopped 5 kilometers before the official stage. So everybody was going past, and I stopped at the albergue. I was completely alone. It was a super nice albergue, but the owner said, it's the first time, like this season, the first night, that I only have one pilgrim. And at first I was like, wow, I have a whole albergue to myself. I was happy about it. But then after dinner, I was just sitting there and I was like, wow, like why am I alone? All of a sudden I felt lonely. I guess, I asked to be alone. Here I am. I guess I really need to be alone. And in that moment of sadness, I went in the room, and I just come in and I glance on the wall, and there is this poster that says, "You are not alone. You are not alone." And I was like, that was the first time when Camino spoke to me. And that moment I knew that I'm not alone. I'm being watched, I'm being supported, I'm being talked to, I'm being led. And that's when I realized that magic of the Camino that everybody was talking about. For me, that was a turning point. And I was like, okay, I can communicate. I can ask my questions. I can ask for a guidance. That was a turning point. For the next 2-3 days, I walked alone, meeting people in the evenings, and then everything changed. Right before the Hospitales route, I stayed in an albergue. That was like the best night ever on the Camino. We had a very nice dinner. We were playing a guitar after, singing. And I was like looking at everybody, like people are on their phones, But not to be on the phone, not to send messages, not to check their social media. They were on the phones to find lyrics for the songs that we were singing. And we were all up until like 11 p.m. The next day, we were gonna do the Hospitales route. And that was the first time ever that we all had breakfast at the same time, and we all started walking at the same time. And again, you know, I was filming my YouTube channel and I was like trying to stay behind, like do my footage, and then they were all waiting for me. I was like, okay, like you don't have to wait. Our group stayed together, and we almost all of us, we slept at the same hostel the night after. Well, and then the day after we started walking together again, and I just gave up. I'm like, you know what? Okay, we'll see where it goes. And I walked with them for a week, and we all finished together. And that was the most incredible experience ever. That was my Camino family. And by the end of the week of walking together, we knew each other so well. Like we were doing the laundry, all of us together. We were separating the laundry. And we were like, okay, this underwear is hers. This underwear is his, you know, like we knew each other's underwear. Isn't that funny? And we were getting along better than you would with people you spend your life with. People you see every day. We would get along so well. There was absolutely no argument. There was absolutely like no conflict of I want this, I want this. Like no, everybody was sticking together all the time, supporting each other, helping each other. It was just so flawless. I can tell you now, after walking other Caminos, that was probably once in a lifetime experience for me. So on that first Camino, I experienced the solitude. I experienced what it means to like listen to the Camino, go with the flow, switch for another route, go on your terms, go off the official stages. Like make the Camino your own Camino. This is your Camino. There's no right or wrong. You want to plan in advance. You don't want to plan, don't plan in advance. And the most importantly, listen to yourself. What your God is telling you. What do you need? What do you need to get from that Camino? You need to walk with somebody, you will get it. You need to be alone, you will get it as well. And don't be shy to ask. Ask the Camino, ask the people around you. Make this Camino your Camino. So that was my experience with my very first Camino. Let's get to the second one. I'll try to be more brief with the second Camino. So I was so moved by my first Camino. I was so impressed that I promised to myself to do it with my kids. 9 months later, I was walking Camino Portugués with my kids. They were 11 and 9 at that time. And I was thinking that would be a perfect age, a perfect time for me to do it, because I was already feeling them, you know, sometimes prioritizing friends over family time. And I was like, okay, my time is running short. They're going to become teenagers very soon, not wanting to spend time with their mom. So I really have to use this opportunity and do something special together. Anyways, we walked for 19 days. We walked from Porto to Santiago and then Santiago to Finisterre. And I can tell you that was the best travel experience with my kids ever for me. It was an adventure. It was an amazing, incredible adventure. We learned so much about each other during that trip. We looked at each other from a completely different perspective. Like every day it was a completely new life, like a separate life where we would learn something new. We had to support each other. We had to learn to support each other because each one of us, we had one bad day each on the separate days, but like we all had a bad day and we had to learn to support you know. I would have to find a way to support my kids, like to encourage them to keep walking, to help them learn to find that inner motivation, like how to keep walking, even through fatigue, even through maybe boredom, even when, you know, like you feel like you are done, to find that inner strength. And what can you do when you are bored? What can you do when you're like annoyed with your brother? And then they also had to learn to support their mama. When I was having a bad day, when I felt tired and just not wanting to walk, and it was their turn to support me, and they did an amazing job. They learned to see the beauty in small moments. I have like this specific moment that I remember very well, when Ivan looked at, like, I think a cornfield and then some mountains in the distance. It was beautiful, like it was really beautiful, but if you think about it, nothing special. So a lot of people would just say, what is this? But then he was just standing there. He's like, this is beautiful, Mom. And I'm like, it's not because it's beautiful, but because you learn to see the beauty and to appreciate like this small moments, just the green grass or the blue sky, you know, because we take things for granted. Ivan just said that this is really beautiful. And he said it's very rare for him to say that something is beautiful. But you know what? I think it's not because whatever we have seen before was not beautiful, is that now you are learning to see the beauty. Because the beauty is in your eyes. It's your perceptions, how you see the world. And the Camino teaches you to appreciate and notice small things, and find the beauty even in what someone would say, oh, this is just a field and some cloudy mountains in the background. And that was their lesson, to see the beauty in a sip of coffee, in a nice pastry, in green fields, in some mountains in the distance. So yeah, I would repeat it any minute, any moment, any time. But now they're very busy with their schedules. When we got back, they were like, yeah, it was nice, good, but you know what? Thanks, but no thanks. Next time we just want to travel and visit places, but walking, not so much. That was right after we finished. But then, with time, they were remembering the Camino over and over and over again. And we were doing some other amazing, incredible travels, and they were still getting back to that Camino and remembering it. And they will definitely, now they can admit that this was once in a lifetime experience. It was something special. And they said, yes, we would repeat it. It's hard for them to find time. They're really into soccer and their schedules are super busy. So yeah, I do not regret it. If you have kids, if you have a chance, kids, grandkids, go. That's like such an incredible bonding time. You like do it for yourself. Do it for yourself. For you, that will be an incredible memory. I don't know about the kids, but I will cherish it for the rest of my life. After that, 2024, May, I go back to Spain to do Camino San Salvador and Camino Inglés, one after the other. So each Camino was 5 days. Camino San Salvador is the mountain Camino. It's quite a remote one, not very popular. There's not that many people. And Camino Inglés is a short one. We walked from Ferrol to Santiago. And that Camino for me was a relationship test, because I was walking with my boyfriend at the time, and we had only been dating for 6 months when we took the Camino together. And a spoiler, it was a mistake. It was a mistake. That person, to begin with, was on the negative side. Like, he was quite negative in everyday to-day life. And me, I was hoping that my light will not be affected by his darkness. I was hoping that my light will be stronger. My positivity and my habit of looking at things on the positive side will be stronger. And I was asking myself at the beginning of that relationship, like, will you even be able to do that, when there is negativity all the time? And I guess I was telling myself, well, that's going to be a good test for me, how strong my mindset is, like my positive mindset, and if it's really strong, it won't be able to, like, nobody would be able to dull my brightness, and affect my mindset. And you know what? I would say I kind of failed. I can say that the negativity is stronger. In the long run, the positivity always wins, but in the moment, the anger, all the negative emotions, they're more charged than the positive emotions. They're stronger emotionally. And so it can affect the positivity, unfortunately. It's like a blue sky and then there is clouds. Maybe not the rain, maybe not the thunderstorm, but there's gonna be clouds. What was amazing is that in that relationship, I could see with my own eyes how different people with different mindsets can see the world. Like, I could really see what it means, the expression that we create our outer world, like our inner world creates the outside world. I could really see that. And I'll tell you why. With this person, we're walking Camino San Salvador, okay? It's only 5 days. Yes, not many people. In those 5 days that we were walking, we met maybe 2 pilgrims. That's it. That was end of May. In one of the albergues, I asked, like, is there any people walking? And he's like, you know what? It's crazy because yesterday I had like 25 people. The day before I had like 20 people. Tomorrow I have reservations for like 17 people. But on your day, somehow there is nobody. And so the entire Camino, we had absolutely nobody. That's example number 1. And I hope you understand why. Example number 2. On the day 1 of Camino San Salvador, I booked, it wasn't really an albergue, it was like a small hotel. So we had a private room, but I checked the reviews. The reviews were amazing. So I booked it with absolutely no doubt. And we had a very bad experience. The room was terrible. It was the worst room I had ever stayed at. We asked to change the room. They gave us pretty much like a penthouse, like an apartment. And it was still terrible. So the overall experience was not good. The town itself was not nice. It's just, I felt like that heavy energy. And the day after, and I'm like recording my videos, right? So the day after, usually, I start the day with talking about my experience of the night, of the albergue. And in the morning I was like, should I even talk about this albergue? Like, it's so not me to like complain and say that something was bad. Like, I'd rather not even pay attention to it, I'd rather not even focus on that and mention it. So like there was like this conflict in me, like, should I even do that? And yet I did. And then there was somebody who left a comment on that episode saying that, I don't know what you're talking about. I stayed at that place and that place was amazing. And that's when I realized, also I connected the dots and I realized that it's not the place. It's us. It was basically somebody else's habit of looking at the world from a negative perspective, always expecting something bad to happen, expecting something to be not a good experience. It's just, thank you, universe, for showing me this. But it's incredible how your inner perception can affect the outside world. That was amazing. That was amazing to see. And honestly, that lesson, that life lesson, was worth being in that relationship. So anyways, Camino San Salvador is beautiful. It's beautiful. You should do it if you can. Camino Inglés, it's short. It's 5 days. I didn't feel the community feel, although I thought it would be an amazing Camino to experience that community, because only 5 days, people are staying at the same places. There's not that many albergues to choose from. You're pretty much walking at the same rate because it's only 5 days, so there's no way, to spread out and stay behind and take a rest day. And you just it's like a camp on the walk. And yet we did not experience that. But otherwise, it's a nice short walk. And if you were just thinking of doing a little trial what Camino is like, yes, I recommend that. The moral of the story: choose the partner you're walking with wisely, because your Camino can really be affected by somebody else's energy, by somebody else's experience, by somebody else's view on the world. And not necessarily, the people who you're coming with, who you bring on the Camino, but also the people who you meet along the way. Feel free to say, what? It was nice meeting you, but here we're gonna go separate ways. It's my own Camino, and I want to focus on me, and I want to walk alone, and that's absolutely fine. Sometimes I had people who would be like, "Oh, do you want to walk together?" And I would be like, "No, thank you. I'm sorry, but I like to walk alone." And feel free to do so. And my most recent Camino that I walked in October 2024, it was Camino Le Puy. So I walked from Le Puy-en-Velay in France. That was a very random Camino. I booked the tickets, I think a week before I left. I just had an urge calling to do that Camino. I had heard about this Camino on my first Camino. Somebody recommended it to me. They said, you really absolutely have to walk that Camino for the community feel. You walk and then you arrive at the albergue and you feel like the red carpet. They're meeting you, they're cooking for you. It's just an incredible experience. So I wasn't looking for solitude anymore. I really wanted to experience that community feel without necessarily having to walk Camino Frances. But then as soon as I arrived on the Camino, I started doubting. I was like, why am I here? And shortly after, I just wanted to, I had the same urge to go back home. And there was a conflict. What is happening? It's in my head, I was like, you called me, I'm here. But now my home is calling me. And so every day I was asking why am I here? Why am I here? I was asking everybody. I met a priest, Laurent, and I asked him how do I find an answer? And he's like, well, be prepared that there is no answer. You're just here. Maybe the answer will come later, or maybe there is just no answer, but you are here and that's it. Then another lady, Kathy, she told me, sometimes, most of the time, we're just thinking, okay, what's in it for me? Why am I doing this? What is my lesson here? But for me. What's in it for me? But maybe sometimes we are somewhere for somebody else. And there is nothing for us, but we are here to do something for another person, people. And I think this is what happened, because on day one, I met a person and we walked together the entire way. And that person he had just lost a job, and he was in a crossroads in his life, professionally, personally, everything. And I think I gave a lot of support, and I was there for that person. It was a very interesting story, how he ended up on that Camino, how I ended up on that Camino, and how we met, and how our paths crossed. It was just, honestly, it felt like it was meant to happen. We're just friends, but I think our meeting was very significant for probably both of us. But I did not finish that Camino. I kept feeling like I need to go home. And at some point, I just felt that my mission here is done. My job here is done. I don't need to complete the walk. And my kids right now, they need me more than I'm needed here. And I chose my kids. And I just went home to my kids. And I was absolutely happy about that decision. I did not regret a bit. And that's a lesson from that Camino. This is also a Camino. And this is also walking the Camino is to cut it short. And that's also a Camino. But if we just talk about Camino Le Puy, it's a very interesting Camino, very special, very different. It's beautiful, it's very challenging. Definitely walking sticks, it's very challenging. It's more challenging than Camino San Salvador, because Camino San Salvador is hard, but it's only like the hard part is only like the first 3 days, then it gets better, and in total it's like 5 days. But here it's Camino San Salvador every day, so it's really, really challenging. As for the community, yes, it's exactly what I had heard. The communal dinners every single day, and that's the best part of the Camino. So you walk during the day, and in the evening you have like this communal dinner all together at the table. You eat, and that's the best part. You meet people, you meet the albergue owners. It's like really this family feeling. I would recommend speaking some French though, because especially during the time I walked, it was October, there were a lot of French people, so the majority were French, I would say. I didn't meet a lot of people who would speak English, and luckily I speak French, so my whole conversations were in French. The conversations are quite deep at the table, and with just like very basic French, you might feel a bit lost and left out, so be prepared for that. But otherwise, the Camino is beautiful, and I absolutely recommend it. So yeah, these are my personal experiences with the Caminos, and I just wanted, to summarize, to give the difference, how each Camino can be so special, and how each Camino can give you something that you're looking for at that specific moment. How each Camino was a certain type of like therapist, couple therapy, family therapy, my personal therapy, and I learned like so many lessons. I'm a big fan, I always will be, and I really hope that one day you will be able to experience that. If you haven't yet, leave your special stories in the comments. Why did you take your Camino? What did you learn? I'll be happy to see and hear your feedback and to connect anytime. Hope to see you in the next videos and on the next Camino.